Greetings, my name is Monty Martin and welcome back to Isadora 101. In this series of video tutorials, I'm going to be introducing you to the core features and functionality of Isadora 3. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be building on some of what we learned in our previous session, where we explored using layers in Isadora to build composite images created from multiple media files combined together on a single stage. We're going to be showing you some more intermediate to advanced techniques today that are going to let you build much more comprehensive and nuanced compositions using your media. However, all of the techniques that I'm going to be showing you today are going to rely on a little bit of extra knowledge of how to create images and media sources, because the three techniques we're going to be focusing on today are using images with transparent alpha channels built into them, how to key images that have a chroma key or green screen layer, and how to use specially prepared image masks to add transparent alpha channels to images that do not already have such alpha channels in them. These three techniques are the bread and butter of so many of my own projection designs, and I really can't think of the last show that I created that did not use one of these techniques in some way, shape, or form. They are very important to building really rich images with Isadora, but they do hinge on having some other skills or preparation techniques. So you may want to make sure that you've got something in your toolbox, whether that is a green screen in a camera or a little bit of knowledge of Photoshop. Because preparing your graphics in advance before you bring them into Isadora is going to give you a lot more than if you just work with them in Isadora alone. Although I am going to show you some quick and dirty techniques for working with alpha masks using the Shapes Actor. It's a favorite prototyping technique of mine, so we'll be sure to explore that in this tutorial as well. Let's get underway. So last time we looked at how we can combine multiple movie players, picture players, each with their own projector actor, and put them on a different layer to arrange them on the stage by simply using the horizontal and vertical position of our projector actors combined with putting each on a different layer while setting our projectors to transparent blend mode. Instead of using this technique, however, we can work with images that help us accomplish this so we don't have such boxy looking images on top of one another. Let's take a look at a quick example of just one of these images. In this scene, I have two projector actors combining their images in additive blend mode. One is our image of the jellyfish, which we've seen many times, and the other is a PNG image file, which I call Red Planet. This PNG image file is special. It has an alpha channel built into it. I've created this image using Adobe Photoshop, and I've specifically defined part of the image to have an alpha channel. Let's see what this image looks like in isolation. I'm going to take out the jellyfish by setting the intensity to 0 on its projector actor. So this image of the red planet is very simple. I have a big red ball in the middle and black everywhere else. But that black area isn't actually black. It's an alpha channel. Quite simply, an alpha channel is a region of an image where the pixels are transparent to some degree. This means that when we place an image with an alpha channel on a higher layer than another image, it will allow the image underneath to be visible through the alpha channel pixels. Now, some alpha channels in an image are completely transparent or clear. They're like glass. Whereas the other pieces of the image are as if we had taken a paintbrush and some very thick paint and painted on that image. So we can imagine looking through a pane of glass that has been painted over it. We see the painted image quite clearly, it's opaque, whereas then we see through the glass on the other side. Now, some images have alpha channels that are more like translucent paint or tinted glass. They have some color or shape or definition to them, but they still allow us to see what is underneath, although it might be tinted in some way. I like to think about this as the difference between, say, tinted glass versus a gobo, for all of you that are familiar with theatrical lighting design. In either case, images with alpha channels behave somewhat like a filter placed over our vision. In many ways, they behave like a projected image. We're stacking things on top of each other, but allowing certain things to pass through. Now, in many cases, an image with an alpha channel has to be built that way. Many video editing and photo editing applications, such as Adobe Photoshop, Premiere, Final Cut, and more, will allow us to export our images and video in formats that have transparent alpha channels. The most popular for this is a transparent PNG file, and you've probably encountered many of those before. But some video codecs, such as HAP, will support alpha channels. You just have to make sure that the file has that built into it. If the media file that you're working with does not already have alpha channels baked into it, you're either going to need to edit that file manually, or you are going to need to use some of the other creative techniques we're going to explore in the other sections of this video. So let's see how to get that transparent alpha channel working, because when I take my intensity up on my jellyfish back up to 100, our two projectors here are still in additive blend mode. So in order to make that transparency very relevant, we do need to set our images and our projector actors to their transparent blend mode. So I'm going to do that with both of my layers now. And as I do so, I'm going to set the red planet's layer to layer 2, and I'm going to set the jellyfish to transparent blend mode and put it on layer 1. And you can immediately see now what the result of this is. The red planet is completely opaque and superimposed over the image of the jellyfish. Whereas those black regions before, that's where the alpha channel is. So even though the red planet image is on a higher layer and it is set to 100% intensity and it's on top, the image itself has alpha channels within it. So it's allowing those through. If I were to change my image of the red planet to one of my other images that we looked at before, for example, the nature sunset image, you'll see that it's superimposed completely and totally over the image of the jellyfish underneath. I have another image that shows this really, really well. I made this image of several hexagons, but the hexagons themselves are transparent alpha channels. Here's what this image looks like. Again, I'm going to take out the intensity on the jellyfish, and I'm going to switch this image over here. This image here is a black and white image. Or is it? Well, when we take the jellyfish back up to 100, see, that's not quite the case. Those black hexagons, those are actually completely transparent alpha channel areas, and the white part of the image is completely solid. So we can build images that are quite irregular shapes, and in fact, they can be like cutout stencils in many ways. Now, I built this image in Photoshop, but when we look at our section on masking, I'm going to teach you how you can take any black and white image and make it work like this. Now, switching back to the red planet here. When we have two images superimposed like this, we can change the intensity of the topmost image, and it's still transparent. So as we change the intensity, it's going to allow more of the underlying image through. It's not going to zero it out. This is very different than if I set our blend mode here to opaque. If I send the blend mode on my topmost image to opaque, watch what happens. It kills the alpha channel. And as I lower the intensity, it still stays opaque over top of that. So that's the difference between using the transparent blend mode and using the opaque mode. Opaque just blasts out everything and leaves a complete black background underneath it. Whereas the transparent blend mode works really, really nicely when we're working with our alpha channels. So again, Working with this requires us to have images that are specially prepared for it. But once we do so, it gives us a lot of flexibility. We can create images like this one, where I've reproduced the red planet several times over by connecting it to multiple projector actors and change the intensity and horizontal position of each to create a gradation. This image here on the most extreme left is at 100% intensity, in the middle at 50%, and at the right side only 25%. You can see how each allows varying amounts of the underlying image through. In a similar manner, we can reposition things that have alpha channels in an interesting way. This is an image that I've created by combining my starfield layer as well as my red planet and blue planet images, bringing them over top of one another to create, again, a composite image. So alpha channels baked into our image files give us this freedom and flexibility to create images that aren't just defined by square boxes. But of course, all of this is work that you are going to have to do before you import this media into Isadora in order to have this functionality. You'll need to work in something like Adobe Photoshop or another image or video editing application to prepare the alpha channels specifically. That can mean a lot of extra work and a lot more into your pipeline. What if we don't have that capability? Well, this is where our other two techniques come into play. Now, both of these techniques do rely as well on a little bit of image preparation, but you might find that they're a little bit more flexible in this regard. The first technique that I'm going to show you is an old standby from the film industry, and that is called chroma keying, also known as green screen, or sometimes just keying. With a chroma key technique, we can take a piece of media that has been shot in front of a solid colored background, usually a green screen, and we can pull that green out of the image completely, leaving a transparent image that we can superimpose over another one. Let's take a look at how we can do this. First, I'm just going to set the stage. I'm going to bring in our video of the jellyfish to act as the background. And I'm going to set, again, its blend mode to transparent and leave it on layer 0. Then I'm going to bring in this video file that I have here of a cute little puppy sitting on a stool. And I'm going to put it on layer 1 and set its blend mode to transparent. There we go. It's a cute image, shot on an iPhone for that vertical format, but it's going to work well for our purposes here. Now, as you can see, this is behaving just like our previous images. We've got them over top of each other, but I've got that green background surrounding the puppy. Let's get rid of it. To do that, we're going to use our Chroma Key Actor. Now, the Chroma Key Actor has two video inputs, a foreground and a background. And we can use it in one of two ways. We can either use it in the way that I'm going to be showing you right now, or we can plug something into the background. What we're going to do for now is we're going to just separate our projector, make it the room here, and we're going to plug it right in there at the top. We actually don't need to put anything into the background as long as we do this. Turn the alpha property on. If you don't have the alpha property turned on, you are going to need to have a video file with the same resolution as your chroma key video plugged into the background, and that will be what is replaced with the Chroma Key Actor. I personally prefer this technique of using alpha and pulling it out and then using the layering, but if you wanted a simpler project, you could do that. I find it's just a little bit more flexible with my media assets this way, but everyone has their own methods. Now, you can see that already something's weird happening to my puppy. Some of the image is now visible underneath, but not the image that I want to be taken out. I need to define my key hue. And this is really just a little bit of hunt and peck here. We're going to take the key hue, and we're going to use the monitor here, which right now we can see it's set to 0, or it's red. And we're just going to drag it along here. Oh, there it is, 22. And it takes it all that green right out, just like that. We can play a little bit with the saturation and the softness to get a little bit of a better hue, a little bit of a better key. But you probably don't need to do that if your green screen footage was well shot with good lighting. So in a lot of ways, in my experience, I go for the more preparation in the studio, less finicking around with Isadora, and I like to shoot my green screen media really, really well. If you haven't been able to shoot it that well, you might find that you need to play around a little bit more with the hue width, the saturation, and the softness to really get it keyed out. Now at this point though, I can move our little puppy around, zoom this puppy up maybe a little bit here. Yeah, oh, that's adorable. You know, and as we adjust the hue width and everything, we can get it a little bit better. You can still see there's some sections where the light is not reflected perfectly, so I might need to pull around the key hue and the hue width just to get it absolutely right. And it's really awesome. It's really bang on, actually, how close it is. Yeah, keep that hue width at maybe 2? No? 3? This is a little bit of that finicking around stage where you want to really plug the numbers in. Like, I'll go in here really, really closely with the key hue numbers and the hue width, saturation, and the softness. And rather than pulling them up by increments of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, be precise. Sometimes maybe the hue width of 4.1 is exactly what you need for the video footage that you shot or the video footage that you're working with. Precision is key when you are chroma keying. There's not much else to working with chroma key video, aside to say that this works in real time. If you have live video footage that is being shot in front of a green screen and you're using that as a live media input, this works. So you can take a live performer out of whatever green screen studio they're in and put them anywhere they need to be. Although in my experience, working with live video and keying is very challenging because it requires a very intelligent lighting design. The steps in Isadora to successfully using a chroma key technique are actually not that complex at all. It's really all about good video footage and good lighting design. Chroma keying is a very powerful tool to have in your back pocket, but perhaps one of the techniques that I use most extensively in my own design work is masking. I want to come back to this image that we created earlier. This is that graphic that I showed you where I built several hexagons that were actually transparent, meaning that they are allowing the image underneath to pass through where the hexagons are, but blocking them out where the image is white. I often use images like this in my own design. Often I create them by taking photographs of the physical environment, bringing those into Photoshop, and then using those photographs as a template to create masks that are then reflected back out in my projection design. I often use white as the area that I want to black out, so I can do something like this. I simply add a video inverter to the chain. Widen that up a little bit there. And now I have a nice fishbowl sort of effect. When this is projected, because now the white has been transformed into video black, it really creates quite a nice effect, particularly in a theatrical environment where we're working with lots of dark light. So we can actually create this in a quick and dirty manner. But we need a very particular kind of image, one that is black and white. An image perhaps that looks something like this. I'm going to create a blank scene here. And I have this image here of a human silhouette. This is a JPEG image. It is black and white. The human figure is black. The rest of the image is white. Now, if I set this image to transparent blend mode, put it on layer 1, and then bring in my jellyfish image, just as we did before, the technique doesn't work because this is a JPEG image and it doesn't have an alpha channel built into it. But we can add one. And here's how. We're going to use a very simple actor called Add Alpha Channel. What the Add Alpha Channel actor does is it combines two media files. One, the original source image, and the second media file or video chain, which is going to become the mask. This masking technique works by taking the image, the mask image, and looking at what parts of that image are black and what parts of the image are white. Where the image is white, the resulting pixels will be opaque, and where the images are black, they will be transparent. So let's see what happens when I hook this all up. I'm going to disconnect everything here, and I'm going to get rid of one of my projectors. I actually only need one. And with this technique, it does not necessarily matter what the mode of our projector is set to. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the jellyfish movie as the video input on the Add Alpha Channel Actor. This is the one that I want to add the alpha channel to. And so you'll see when I do this, I just get the jellyfish video right back there. No problem. But now when I connect the picture player to the mask, let's look what happens. There we go. What has now happened is the areas of that original image that were white are now shone through, but the parts that are black stay black. How do we make this a little bit more useful, perhaps? Maybe we want the jellyfish to fill the human silhouette form. Well, we just do what we did before. We grab that video inverter and plug that into the chain before it goes into the mask. And there you have it. Now, I have used this technique to projection map onto a human body. I took a photo of an actor in front of a green screen or a white background, took that photo into Photoshop, and made it into a pure silhouette style image that corresponded to their body. And then I did this technique, used a little bit of the magic here, and boom, a very quick and dirty, if static, map onto a human body. You can use this for a lot of different shapes as well, whether it is a screen, a surface, or anything else, and it's a perfect partner to use with techniques like IZZyMap and other projection mapping techniques. Now that this image has been masked out like this, if I set the projector to it to transparent blend mode, put it on a layer, and then bring in another one of my videos here, maybe just the people walking in the street, that's the result that I get. This image now behaves just like the blue or red planet images because the image has now got that alpha channel in the areas of the image that were black, or in this case, again, I inverted them from white to black so that I could produce this result. I like to think of this technique as a more creative way of cropping an image. The crop actor, again, only lets us slice things inward in a boxy manner. But by creating a mask, and a mask which you can draw yourself, if you have a tablet application or even a piece of paper, it's very easy to just draw whatever you like, make that totally black and white, perhaps even using a threshold actor to do it, and then use that as your mask. One thing to be aware of when you do use this technique is that you might get some distortion in the image if the resolutions of the mask and the image that you are masking do not match each other. So in my example that I used here today, I was not using two images that had the exact same resolution. You may want to make sure that both your media files have matching resolutions for this purpose. Now, if you don't have the time or don't want to draw an image or construct an image yourself, there is a quick and dirty method that you can use within Isadora to create a quick mask with this method. Instead of using the picture player, we can take the picture player and the video inverter out and put in a shapes actor. If I just pull everything out so you can see what the shape is going to be, and see that the shapes actor, hey, there's a black and white image right there. We can define even the horizontal and vertical size of that image so it has a nicely matching resolution. When I create a shapes image like this, to use it as a mask source, I can set the horizontal and vertical size of the image resolution. That's going to define the resolution of the video that is created by the shapes actor. And then I can use the width and height and scale to define its actual shape and its facets to decide how many sides it has. There we are. And then I want to set the background color in it to solid black as well. Now I have a rudimentary image that is behaving exactly like the image of the hexagons that I made earlier, or the image of that human silhouette that we had earlier. So if I use this image in the same way with my add alpha channels, plug that right back into the circuit here as the mask, there, we get the same result. But we've now created that in Isadora using the Shapes Actor. So if you don't have an image file to act as a mask, you don't have time to rip open Photoshop, you can use the Shapes Actor as a quick and dirty substitute. And in some cases, if you just need a basic shape, like a square or even a circle, by setting our facets up to 64, hey, now we're off to the races. So there you have it. Here are 3 more techniques for compositing images in Isadora. Using images with alpha channels, creating those alpha channels with a mask, and working with chroma key or green screen images. All 3 are powerful things to have in your toolbox of design techniques when you are working with Isadora. That's all for this session. We will see you at the next workshop.